Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. President Donald Trump. What a wonderful surprise. I mean, who would expect any politician to keep a promise that every single president has not kept 44 times in 22 years? And whether it was President Trump or one of his writers, I don't care. I'm still impressed with the opening line of referring to this silliness by giving everyone the perfect definition of insanity.
It would be folly to assume that repeating the exact same formula would now produce a different or better result.
It took more than 20 years and more than 40 attempts of doing the same thing and getting the same results before someone finally said, I don't think this is having any effect. I say this president, my friends, deserves some recognition, at least for manning up and doing the right thing, but also for keeping his campaign promise.
Today, I am delivering. We finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. This is nothing more or less than a recognition of reality. The United States would support a two-state solution.
What? Really? Okay. So you're saying that we support a solution which has been an all-out impossibility to achieve for what? 4,000 years?
If agreed to by both sides.
Oh, okay, I see. If both sides agree. So, let me get this straight now. Basically, all you're saying here is that the United States is officially agreeing to something that everyone knows will never happen. That is, the United States is officially agreeing to something that it is absolutely sure it will never actually have to agree to at all. Brilliant. And that brings us back to that same 4,000-year-old problem that started with Yitzchak, Isaac, and Ishmael. That is, the Israelis and the Arabs. Have you ever watched Arabs and Jews trying to have a conversation with each other?
First, I would like to also point out something. What kind of negotiation? What kind of negotiation? I don't know. What kind of negotiation?
What do you think? They will come to the table?
If one side wants, what's
you have to ask.
The country.
Why is this so?
Everyone, all talking at once. No one listening to a word anyone else is saying. Just one big wild cacophony of wagging tongues. All of them saying nothing at all. And finally,
I reaffirm my administration's long-standing commitment to a future of peace and security. Peace and security. Peace and security.
Oh boy, everyone loves to start shouting about 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, but 1 Thessalonians 5:3 is not talking about when President Trump says peace and security, nor is it talking about media quotes of various politicians talking about peace and security. That has been going on for a few years now, Chavarim. No. The prophecy in 1 Thessalonians 5:3 is talking about the day of Yahweh's wrath and the day of Yeshua's wrath, saying that as soon as people are all shouting about the fact that there truly is, finally, a state of peace and security actually happening, then sudden destruction falls on them like a woman in labor, and they will not escape. And when we look at verse 6, we see the called out ones being told to watch, tzafah, and to put on the breastplate of Yahweh's word and the helmet of our expectation, the expectation of our redemption. That is, Chavarim, our expectation of the net chetef, the rapture, because the called out ones have not been appointed to the day of his wrath. And we are told to comfort one another and to encourage one another about all this. Comfort one another? Encourage one another? That's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:3. Now, let me see, where have I been told by Yahweh to do that before? Oh, yeah. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 18. Comfort and encourage one another with these words. What words? The words that say that those who have departed this life in Mashiach will rise first, and then we, the living ones who remain on the earth, shall simultaneously be caught up, net chetef, along with the resurrected, raptured dead, in the clouds to meet our Adon, Yeshua, in the air, where we will always be through the eternity of the eternities with our Adon, Yeshua, HaMashiach, Nagid, Tzikenu. That's Yeshua, our Messiah, the King of Israel, our righteousness. Also, let me clarify something else, my friends. A number of you are referring to the prophecy of Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, because of President Trump saying peace and security, or because of this talk of a two-state solution being a peace agreement. But people are missing two very bold aspects that dispel any validity to that idea. First, there will never be any two-state solution, ever, period. Yahweh will never allow his land to be divided. End of the 4,000-year-old story. And second, the peace treaty of Daniel 9:27 is made with a great number, not just two. These signs are all very encouraging, but let's be clear about them. I think the big story here, my friends, comes from Zechariah, chapter 12, verses 1 through 6, where we read a prophecy, the word of Yahweh concerning Israel. Yahweh, who stretches out the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth and forms the Ruach of man within him, the spirit of man within him. Look, I am going to make Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, a cup that causes all the surrounding peoples to be trembling, and Judah, Yehudah, will be besieged as well as Yerushalayim. And in that day I will make Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, a burdensome and immovable stone for all peoples. All who burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces. And all the Gentile nations of the earth shall come and gather together against it. And in that day, says Yahweh, I will strike every horse, speaking of the armies that contend against Jerusalem, with terror and panic. And I will strike every rider with madness. I will keep a watchful eye over the house of Yehudah, Judah, and I will strike every horse of the opposing Gentile nations with blindness. And the clans of Judah shall say in their hearts, the people of Jerusalem are our strength through Yahweh of armies, their Elohim. And in that day I will make the clans of Yehudah, Judah, like a fire pot in a woodpile, like a flaming torch among sheaves of grain, and they will consume all the surrounding peoples right and left. But Jerusalem will remain intact in her place. Christopher Maskey is a young shepherd who was recently called to my attention by Adam, Parable of the Vineyard YouTube channel. Christopher has been growing in the Ruach HaKodesh, my friends, in some very exciting ways. He's only just getting started with his ministry, but he has a voice and he has a heart that deserves our attention. And so, I'm adding Christopher to our list of worthy shepherds. I have a link to a video Christopher published last week on December 5th titled Yahweh and Yeshua, the true names of Abba Father and Jesus. And he's put another video up since then about the rapture. Please give Christopher your support, my friends. Encourage him and consider his videos as possible inspirations for someone you may know. Maybe Christopher has what will reach them. But I think it's going to be fun watching the growth of this young man in Yeshua. Yo, Christopher, you are doing an excellent job, my friend. Keep up the good work. And now we turn, unfortunately, to something stupid to talk about. Pope Francis has called for the phrase about temptation in Yahweh's prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, lead us not into temptation. He wants it to be changed. The Pope is an abomination to begin with, my friends, something that turns Elohim's stomach. But this is pure idiocy. The word temptation appears 15 times in the Renewed Covenant books, and every time it is a translation of the Greek word perasmos, Strong's number G3986, and perasmos can only be translated as temptations or trials. An enticement to sin by which Hashatan, Satan, seeks to divert someone from any act of righteousness, or a test from Elohim sent to prove one's character. Yaakov, James, chapter 1, verse 13, tells us that Elohim tempts no one. Satan does that, but every person is tempted when he is drawn away, enticed, and baited by his own evil desires, which are brought on by an enticement from Hashatan and his minions, seeking to divert someone from any act of righteousness. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That is, lead us not into pyrasmos, or keep us, dear Abba, from being tempted by Hashatan and his minions. There is nothing in the Adon's prayer, my friends, nothing that even suggests that temptations being prayed about have anything to do with some evil act of Elohim. The Pope is an absolute idiot. Turning to wars and rumors of wars. On Thursday, December 7th, from U.S. News, after 3 rockets were launched at Israel from the Gaza Strip, an Israeli aircraft and a tank struck 2 posts in the Gaza Strip. Sirens sounded in Israel at various locations on a day of heightened tension following demonstrations in the coastal enclave and the occupied West Bank as Palestinians protested over U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement that he was recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Then on Saturday, December 9th, from the Jerusalem Post, the Israeli army destroyed a large Hamas tunnel which had infiltrated into Israeli territory from the Gaza Strip. The tunnel, which stretched a few hundred meters into southern Israel, was uncovered with the help of advanced technological tools complemented by intelligence efforts. The tunnel was not detonated, but was neutralized permanently in a quiet manner, said IDF spokesman Brigadier General Ronen Menelis. He also said that the tunnel was equipped with electricity, communications equipment, and a ventilation system. Then on Monday, December 11th, from the Arab News, ISIS seized territory in Syria's Idlib province after clashes with rival militants, capturing the village of Bashkun after clashes with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a force dominated by a former al-Qaeda affiliate. Turning to our Intifada update on Sunday, December 10th, from Haaretz, a 24-year-old resident of the West Bank stabbed a security guard at the entrance to Jerusalem's Central bus station, and the victim is in critical condition. The terrorist posted on Facebook prior to the attack, saying, quote, "For Allah and for the honor of Al-Aqsa, we will shed our blood," close quote. The attacker was apprehended. And looking at our review of last week's news, President Donald Trump is definitely moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. And, as prophesied by Zechariah, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, is certainly a burdensome and immovable stone for all peoples. After 3 rockets were launched at Israel from the Gaza Strip, an Israeli aircraft and a tank struck 2 posts in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army destroyed a large Hamas tunnel which had infiltrated into Israeli territory from the Gaza Strip. ISIS seized territory in Syria's Idlib province, and a 24-year-old resident of the West Bank stabbed a security guard at the entrance to Jerusalem's Central bus station. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, keep your wicks trimmed. Keep your lamps ablaze.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.